Jim Knowles has been busy in the lab putting together a formula that will have answers for whatever Oregon throws at the Buckeyes defense.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Feel Good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel because the NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. During today's show, we'll discuss if the Buckeyes should still pursue a quarterback in the portal and what happens if they decide not to. But before we get to any of that, it's all about the Buckeyes defense and Jim Knowles putting together a formula that will have answers for whatever the Ducks throw at the Buckeyes. Because if we all think back to October 12th, we remember Dillon Gabriel having a pretty good game. We remember Denzel Burke having what may have been his worst game of his Buckeye career. We remember the defense doing some things that were really good on the field. We also remember the defense letting Oregon get off numerous explosive plays. We remember the Buckeyes offense doing some things that were really good. We all remember Will Howard in the final second sliding too late. We remember a lot of things about that game. But one thing that sticks in my mind about this game coming up on New Year's Day is that after that loss to Oregon, Jim Knowles, Ryan Day, that re-engineered the defense. And since that point in time, the Buckeyes defense has allowed 0 passing touchdowns. They have given up 0 passing touchdowns since that loss to Oregon. Now, they have not faced a quarterback like Dillon Gabriel since that day. They have faced a good quarterback since that day, and none of them could get anything going through the air. That's a good reason for the Buckeyes defense to be confident, but also believe in Jim Knowles. I think the biggest thing for me going into this game for the Buckeyes defense, you got to have a do whatever it takes to win mindset, a do or die mindset. You don't want to be thinking 1-2-3 Cancun in the fourth quarter. You want to be thinking 1-2-3. Let's move on to the very next round. Who is our opponent? You want to be in the situation where the game is at hand because of your play on the field, because of how well your unit played, that you're sitting here thinking, man, we ain't going home. We got another game to play. Moving forward, once again, to win a national championship. And the Buckeyes defense has to have answers for Oregon's offense because Oregon's offense will do some of the same things they did back on October 12th, but they'll also do some things different. In come Caleb Downs. In come Tuimoloau and Sawyer, who for the first time in the Buckeye careers had great games at the same time. It's crazy to think about that actually being a true statement. Both of those guys together were thought to be a dynamic duo that game after game after game and week after week after week would just be out there busting heads, being game records, both be in the backfield, having a meeting at the quarterback multiple times a game. We thought that was going to be what they'd be doing. Unfortunately, that's not been the thing that's been the consistent part of their careers. It can be the consistent part of the Buckeyes' national championship run, but you can't get past, I think, Natty until you get past Oregon in the Rose Bowl. I know I mentioned Caleb Downs earlier, but one of the bright spots for the Buckeyes defense this year has been Sonny Styles. And Sonny Styles moving from safety to linebacker was the right transition for him. But also with Sonny Styles going from safety to linebacker, he had to get game reps under his belt. He had to practice one position over and over and over again. Not just linebacker position. Is it going to be the Will? Is it going to be the Mike? Is it going to be sometimes being the Sam? Which one is it? And I think early in his career this year, you saw Sonny Styles not only being a little flat-footed or a little bit slow, his instincts weren't down. But also, he wasn't consistently working on one position. If you're a safety and all of a sudden you figure out, oh, one game I'm playing corner, that's a big drastic difference in how you're going to play. Now, it's not as drastic, it's more drastic than going from the Mike to the Will or the Mike to the Sam, but it's pretty drastic. And for Sonny Styles, having to play multiple positions and work on multiple positions, that I think kind of helped his growth, but also stunted it a little bit as well. So going forward for Sonny Styles after that game and really the rest of the year, you saw Sonny Styles play as a force at linebacker. And him and Cody Simon together, though, that's a dynamic duo that was a lot of fun to watch. And going into this game against Oregon, well, I will talk about Caleb Downs every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And I'll even hype up more of the defensive line with Tyler Williams, Ty Hamilton, Tuimoloau, and Sawyer going to be big pieces of the pie. One thing that I think is going to be a massive benefit for Ohio State going into the game against Oregon and in that game against Oregon is Sonny Styles' play. Because I was reading some stuff going into this show, and one guy was saying, well, Ohio State tries to take away the receivers. Well, Oregon could go to the tight end. That might be something that could have happened 6 weeks ago or back in game number 6. Oregon might try to go to the tight end, but there's really 3 guys that I really want to focus on, but really one guy in particular, that's the first one, is Sonny Styles. I think Sonny Styles, when it comes to spying Dylan Gabriel and when it comes to being spot up maybe in man-to-man coverage against a tight end, that's the matchup to watch. Also, when you add in Caleb Downs and his different roaming capabilities that he has in the football field, that's going to be an added position as well to say, hey, what kind of answer does Ohio State have for the Buckeyes, for the Oregon's deep? What kind of answer does Ohio State have for Oregon's offense? You got Caleb Downs. But let's not forget Jordan Hancock. I think one of those guys that could be utilized as an X factor or an unsung hero, someone that does not get enough attention, that needs more attention, is Jordan Hancock. A guy who honestly might be the best corner on the team consistently. Denzel Burke used to be that guy, but I'm not sure what's been going on with Denzel Burke lately. Jordan Hancock, to me, and I've been saying it for a while, I don't know if this is the game or if they're going to do it, with Lorenzo Styles getting a lot of play last week and making some big plays. I think he broke up a pass in the end zone as well. I wouldn't be shocked if early in the game, if Jim Knowles tries and Tim Waltons tries to put Lorenzo Styles in there at the nickel and moves Hancock out to outside corner. Now, it's not to say that Burke or Igman are trash, but at some point you might want to make a slight tweak, because that tweak might be something that the opposition might not be ready for, and you're just trying to see what you got there in the game. And I think Jordan Hancock going to outside corner at times, while he might not have the speed of some of the other guys, I do think Jordan Hancock's technique is what you want. Also, you got to realize you got Jermaine Matthews Jr. Now, I don't know exactly if Jr. is going to get a lot of play out there on the outside corner spot. I'm not sure. But I firmly believe that when it comes to these guys together, when it comes to Hancock and Igman and Burke, those 3 corners, you throw in Lorenzo Styles in there as well, I think there is going to be some rotation there. The Oregon might not be able to figure out and really understand why a guy is in, how to attack him, all of those things. But let's not forget Sonny Styles. Circle back to number 6. I think Sonny Styles in this game is going to be one of the biggest guys for the Buckeyes defense. As Ohio State strives to find answers for Oregon's offense, look no further than number 6. He's going to trust the big 4 men up in front of him. He's going to trust the guys behind him and to the side of him. He's also going to trust his coaching and his instincts to be a big reason why Ohio State has answers for Oregon's offense in the Rose Bowl. One thing we will find in the Rose Bowl this year that we won't find at Ohio State in the 2025 season is Will Howard. He's going to the NFL. And I got a question for everyone. Should Ohio State still pursue a quarterback in the portal? I'll answer that question next. This episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year, Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in cancel subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thank you all for tapping in Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. As Ohio State brought in 4 guys from the portal in a 24-hour span, there is more thought about Ohio State going to the portal to bring in more guys to Columbus for the 2025 season. And the thought is still out there in the world. It's a question. Should Ohio State bring in a quarterback from the portal during this current offseason? And I say it that way because I don't want to say it's going to be the first portal window or the second portal window. Simply, should Ohio State bring in a quarterback from the portal during the current offseason? My answer is yes. It was yes when the portal opened back at the beginning of December. It is yes right now. Yes, 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 absolutely yes. The Buckeyes should go out there and bring a quarterback in from the portal. Now, Ohio State is losing Devin Brown. They have lost Aaron Nolan. He has since committed to and transferred to South Carolina. Currently in the room, you have Devin Brown, who is, for next year's room, you have Julian Sand, you have Lincoln Kienholz. You're losing 3 guys. You got 2. You bring in Tavia St. Clair. You got 3 guys. All 3 guys are inexperienced. Now, I don't care if you're a Julian Sand guy or if you're not. Reality is, there ain't no veteran presence in that room at all. Nobody in that room currently that's going to be there next year has ever started a college football game. And when you put that in perspective, absolutely Ohio State needs to go out there and get a guy in the portal. Now, maybe somebody that's going to go out there and try to compete to be the QB1. Cool. I ain't mad about that. Maybe if somebody that's coming in to be more of a Tristan Gebbia or a Chase Chugginoff. Cool. I ain't mad about that. But you got to go out there and utilize this asset and use this thing very, very wisely because I think it's needed. I absolutely think it is needed for Ohio State to be the best team it can be in 2025 to go out there and get a quarterback in the portal. You already saw them get 2 offensive linemen, a tight end, a defensive end, and a running back. 5 guys already, and the calendar year is not even over yet. We still got a few more days left before 2024 is over, and the Buckeyes have already said, look, we're not wasting no time. We're preparing for multiple playoff games and doing our due diligence in the portal and going out there and getting quality players. That's what you got to look for. Quality. I said it before, I'll say it again. The quantity aspect of Ohio State going out there and just trying to bring numbers in. Oh, and we got 20 guys. And we got 32 guys from the portal. We're going to be busting heads next year. Absolutely not. That should not be the approach Ryan Day nor any of these coaches take to the portal. And I don't think they've adopted that at all. If there is somebody inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center that is trying to come out there and say, oh, man, you better go out there and get about 20-plus guys. All the big boys doing it. And all the contenders, 20-plus. Look, that's not the way to get this thing done. Now, I do think Ohio State is going to go out there and probably get at least 10-plus guys in front of the portal between the now and between after spring practice. I do think that's going to happen. The quarterback is one, though, that would be a benefit to Julian Sand. It would be a benefit to Lincoln Kienholz. It would also be a benefit to Chip Kelly and Ryan Day. Because now all of a sudden you realize you have a veteran presence in that room you can lean on. Hey, can you help these young guys? They've been here for a hot second, just a cup of coffee. They don't know much about the hustle and bustle and what it means to start in college football from experience. Can you help them out a little bit? Talk about your time. Talk about what it meant for you to start at your previous stops along the way. Help me out. And I do think that veteran presence is going to be needed. We see Ohio State in the running back room, and that room has a lot of talent. It's also inexperienced talent in that running back room that's going to be there next year. What did they do? Go out there and get C.J. Donaldson, a guy who has already made a position change during his career, a guy who might shed some weight, but will be a big piece of the pie for the Buckeyes next year. Is he going to start? Is he going to back up? I don't know his role. I do know he's going to be needed for Carlos Loughlin next year because Loughlin's going to want a veteran presence in that room. And this is me saying Judkins is gone. I would not be mad if Judkins stayed. I wouldn't be shocked if Judkins stayed at Ohio State next year because I think his draft stock could be drastically benefited by staying in Columbus for one more year. It would be very, very beneficial for the quarterbacks in this room to go out there and get a guy in the portal. For the competition reason, that is one of those areas that Julian Sand and Liga King-Holds need. They need somebody to push them. They need somebody to come in and say, oh, okay, this is how y'all used to do it. This is how you want to do it now. That's not the way we're going to be able to do it if you want to win all these games. Wait. Man, I won state championships in high school, and I played with a 3-sport athlete. Man, you ain't going to come in here. First off, that attitude is not what Ryan Day nor any of these coaches want. You want to be coachable. You need to be coachable. You need to be able to hear you did something wrong. You need to be able to hear, man, I just messed up. You need to be able to hear that. You need to be able to have somebody that's your own peer confront you about some things you're either doing right or doing wrong. And that, hey, I don't want you in here because you're going to mess things up. That's not the right kind of culture piece they want inside of there anyway. From what Ryan and these coaches have been preaching for as long as they've been for the various times in Columbus. Go out there and get a guy in the portal. I'm going to close this little part of the show up with this because I did see on the YouTube, not saying a name, somebody was asking a question about a certain former Ohio State quarterback about if they would transfer back to Ohio State for the upcoming season. Because I think if that person stays in college football for one more year, I don't think they do the starter at the school they're currently at. And this is a playoff team I'm talking about. Quinn Ewers. Sore spot for a lot of Ohio State fans. Trust me, I was hosting this show, and myself and Jeff Hunt was on the show, and we did the show instantly reacting to the news and talked about it a few times because it was a hot-button topic. Quinn Ewers, he's leaving his school early. He's reclassifying late. Reclassified at the beginning of August. If I'm one of your high school teammates, and I may understand why you may want to go there to get that bread, man, look, I'm a little disgruntled because, bro, we've been grinding. We've been grinding for this moment, and all of a sudden, man, our QB1 is off to the bigger ranks, the Ohio State University. If Quinn Ewers hops into the portal, he has not, as of right now, at the time of this recording, he has not hopped into the portal yet. I think Ryan Day should consider it, to be honest with you. But also, that's a really weird situation. But if Ryan Day looks out there and says, Ewers is there, Ewers can make us better. I already know this kid, so it's not like you're bringing in a kid that you don't know. You know the kid. And if you feel like he can make it better and he checks off all the boxes you want from a quarterback in the portal, bring him in. Unless you view Julian Sand or a guy that's currently in the room as a surefire QB1 for next year, don't bring him in. I think you got to bring a quarterback in no matter what. But if you're sold on Julian Sand as being QB1, don't bring in Quinn Ewers because Quinn Ewers is going to come in to start. But also, if you bring in Quinn Ewers and Quinn Ewers wins the job, nothing wrong with that either. I think there's a benefit of the Quinn Ewers conversation if you think he's going to come in and just kind of do that Will Howard thing, come in with a thought to start and put him through a competition anyway. There's benefits there. But also, that could be really, really tricky. If Ryan Day views Quinn Ewers as being a guy that could be the best option to be QB1 next year, bring him in, man. Bring him in. Bring a guy in to start. Bring him in. But if not, I understand. It's a touchy one for a lot of Ohio State fans. But keep this in mind. Ohio State on the basketball side had a guy hop out, and Michi Johnson brought him back in this year. And Michi Johnson has been a phenomenal player for the Buckeyes on the basketball court. And maybe one more year in Columbus, Quinn Ewers could get his body right and work with the injuries and all the things that have kind of been setbacks for him and be the big piece of the pie for Ohio State. The injury piece is interesting because I would be very, very skeptical about bringing a guy in that has the injury history if the coach doesn't have the history with that player. Keep that in mind. Now, what if Ohio State does not bring a quarterback in in the transfer portal during this current cycle? We'll talk about that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Guys, the NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. Simply visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for a chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank y'all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Now, one thing I want to do with the next few minutes we're together on this fine Feel Good Friday is not just focus on the quarterback position, but just positions in general, various positions on the team, as far as what if they don't bring a guy in this room or that room, and kind of talk about the effects of not doing that. For the quarterbacks, I think it could be bad. I personally think it would be a wrong move for Ohio State to just roll into 2025 with Julian Sand, Lincoln Kienholz, and Tavian St. Clair. While all those guys are talented, they're at different stages of their careers. Tavian St. Clair may be the most physically ready to play, but when you haven't really been there in Columbus, it's a whole lot different when it comes to the mechanics and with reading all defenses and knowing what you see in pre-snap, how it may change post-snap, how you're able to look out there and at the drop of a hat figure out, we got to shift this thing after the snap of the ball. Man, trust me, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on playing quarterback in college football. If you roll into 2025 with just those three guys, Sand, Kienholz, and St. Clair, you might be looking at your floor being the reality of your team. Not because the team is just not good. No, I think Julian Sand will be a phenomenal college football quarterback. It's just those early season moments, first 5 or 6 or 7 games. I don't have the schedule right in front of me, so I can't sit up here and say I know exactly the first 6 or 7 games in the Buckeyes schedule next year. I do know you're opening up against Texas. And opening up against a juggernaut like that, a team like that, where Arch Manning is believed to be the starter next year, that first game could kill morale, could kill somebody's spirits, it could mess up their confidence heading into the final, heading into the next few games in their young career as a starting quarterback in Columbus. So I do think there's a massive, massive benefit to doing it. And the impact of not bringing one in could be drastic. And let's just say what happens to the offensive line right now happens to the quarterback room next year. I don't want anybody to get hurt, and I don't think you want anybody to get hurt. But the reality is that somebody might get hurt, and if that person gets hurt in the quarterback room, is it going to be like 2014, where your starting quarterback gets hurt going into the season? Then all of a sudden you're running with QB2 all season long, and then he goes down in the game against the team up north. Then all of a sudden you're rolling with QB3 heading into the playoff, or heading into the Big Ten Championship. You had to win the Big Ten Championship game to simply get into the playoff. Cardale Jones, 59-0 against Wisconsin. Next thing you know, Alabama, first time you're playing in the playoff, first year of the playoff, and Cardale Jones rolls in there. Was drastically benefited because of Ezekiel Elliott. Like, yes, the legend is Cardale Jones, Cardale Jones, Cardale Jones. We wouldn't be chanting his name in that way if it weren't for Ezekiel Elliott and the offensive line moving boys up front. Remember that 85 yards down the heart of the South? Remember Ezekiel Elliott having that phenomenal, that elite run. We marvel and drool at Trey Sermon's run in the 2020 season at the end of the year. Man, go back and look at Zeke. Go back and look at Zeke. Because that man was a dog that year, man. And it'll be very beneficial of those guys to have somebody that would drastically help them. When I think about the 2014 team in that season, it's so special because nobody, even thinking back about it, that's a story that not even a screenwriter would put together because, man, that's just so rare. It's unheard of, literally unheard of. And it happened in Columbus, Ohio, of all places. I'm glad it did, but, man, it's rare. Now, Ohio State brought in one running back. Should they bring in two? I don't think they need to. Regardless of what Quinshon Judkins does, if he goes to the NFL or if he stays in school, no matter his decision, I think you can roll into 2025 with the running back room you got. James Peoples, Sam Williams-Dixon, Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, Turbo Rogers, and now CJ Donaldson. I think you could roll into 2025 with those guys. Because I firmly believe Peoples will be it will be a fun back to watch. Donaldson will be a fun back to watch. And if they put Turbo Rogers or Williams-Dixon or somebody else in the mix next year, that'll be fun to watch too. I think Bo Jackson will probably be, of the 3 incoming freshmen, I think Bo Jackson will be the guy that would have the most carries next year. Now, most touches could be Turbo Rogers. If Turbo Rogers is a guy that they just had to put in the slot to be more of a scat back, or look, I'm all for the creativity on the offensive side of the ball. I'm all for trying to use little fast guys like little fast guys should be used. Turbo Rogers being one of those guys. Trust me, I think that would be great. So the other positions I really think about that Buckeyes need to pursue a little bit more, and I'm not saying they're not pursuing them. They're just keeping that really close to the vest, really wise of them. More offensive linemen. The Buckeyes have brought in 2 offensive linemen so far. I think you should bring in 4. If they're the quality that they need. 4 offensive linemen in the portal would be huge. Now, I like Ian Moore, and I like what we've seen so far from Luke Montgomery, and I like Austin Serval to Carson Hinsman. Cool, I like what I've seen so far. I also like more competition. I also understand the ability for Ohio State to bring in guys that have experience and allow them to come in and say, look, okay, you're right here. This is your spot. You're going to come in. We're going to make you work. Going to make you grind. But we have a feeling you might be someone that could be huge. You are someone that could be a starter next year. If they start or if they don't, cool. It's up to them to decide and put the work in. But pitch it how you need to pitch it. But also realize a portal is your friend. It's not your enemy. It's not your enemy at all. On the D line, you brought in the George kid from Idaho State. Phenomenal guy. 19 plus TFL, 6.5 sacks, I believe, last year at the FCS level. Cool. Bring in a D tackle, another passer, another edge rusher. Bring in more. You need to. You missed out on was it Derek Harmon last year? You missed out on Mateo Uiagalelei in the recruiting cycle for the high school level. You missed out on Dylan Thieneman. You missed out on Dorian Brew. I mean, I could go on the guys you missed. Cool. Those misses are going to happen. You got to hit on some. You got to hit more on the D line. Linebacker's weird because I don't really have a good handle on. Currently, right now, I would say no. I do have a good handle. I don't know why I'm trying to beat around the bush. Just say something, as Rob Parker said on Fox Sports Radio. Just say something into the microphone and stand on what you say. I don't think Ohio State needs to bring in a linebacker at all. I truly don't. Which is so rare for me to come out here and say that, oh, this position's fine. Cody Simon's gone to the NFL. Sonny Styles is on the fence. He could stay. He could go. I would advise Sonny Styles to stay in school. Now, he's going to hear from the NFL people, the scouts, the representatives, to hear about where he might fall, and then him and his family will make the right decision for him. They talk it over. They do what they got to do to make the decision, and then cool, great, that's there. If he leaves, I would be more inclined to say yes. But as of right now, I think you're fine. I think you're perfectly fine. I would also say with the guy in the linebacker room that I think should be more of an edge rusher next year, number 11, CJ Hicks. Now, there was a moment, may have been after the Penn State game, where the podcast did their notebook post-game coverage that they do, and Austin Ward was talking to CJ Hicks, and CJ Hicks said, tell him to put me on the effing edge, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, cool, like, we'll go back and watch the film. Were there good moments? Yes. Were there moments that weren't so good? Also, yes. I know you want to be on the edge. Sometimes it's just got to work a little bit more on the field. Now, for him, I do think that sometimes not being on the field enough is a hindrance, but also I think another offseason, another full offseason will be huge. And for Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles to say, here, CJ Hicks, you're not going to play the will of the mic. You're going to be on the edge. Rush a passer. Just go. Just go. That would be huge. And if that were a move, go to the portal. But if the Buckeyes realize and they say, oh, CJ Hicks is better as a linebacker and Sonny Styles is staying, you're good there, man. And I don't like saying that like that way, but you're good. Safety, go get a guy. You missed out on Dylan Finneman. Go out there and get somebody else. Corner, go out there and get a guy. However, I do think the young corners that Ohio State has are going to be huge for the Buckeyes next year. We're about to hear y'all on a Feel Good Friday. Got a few more days left before the Buckeyes and Ducks meet once again in the 2024 season. This one will actually be in the calendar of 2025 on the first day of the new year. It's the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, and the Bucks and Ducks are going to have a battle right there in the Rose Bowl. I can't wait for that game. We're going to have coverage of that game Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even in the post game on that day. Because, man, the game's so big, we got to do a little something special for that day when the Bucks and the Ducks meet on New Year's Day in 2025. We're out of here, y'all, on a Friday. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317 at gmail.com. Buckeye fans, we're up out of here on a Friday. We'll see you next time.